So hello, back again. It's me, Bernhard from GoUSA.site. So and today I want to talk about immigration and emigrating from any other country to the United States and talking about an immigration lawyer. So is it actually necessary? Yes or no? What should you consider and how does it really work if you are going to hire a lawyer? What is he actually doing for you? I think that's very, very important. How much he might cost or she might cost. And also a very funny story. I want to tell you as well why I fired my immigration lawyer and how I did it. So if you want to hear this and if you're interested in this as well, stay tuned because this story, I can tell you that there is a lot of hot powder in it. So see you soon. All right, when you are trying to move to the United States and, let's say you have tried to apply for jobs and maybe you got even an offer and the sponsorship, etc., then always this question comes up, Bernhard, do I need a lawyer? Do I need to have an immigration attorney in order to move properly to the United States of America? You always have to ask yourself this question up front. What is the lawyer, the immigration lawyer, actually doing for you in the first phase of moving or trying to move to the United States, right? So what can he actually do? Remember, I made videos previously in which I was talking about the process, how important it is if you would like to apply for a job. If you would like to move to the US, getting a working authorization, getting the right visa, right? So what is really important about this part and how could an immigration lawyer help you? So my personal experience, and of course I can only talk for myself and I cannot speak for millions of other people, is that the immigration lawyer didn't help me at all in this process, finding actually a job and also getting a sponsorship, understanding how I can apply, how to write a resume, the strategy, how I can get the connections, etc. None of them. So you have to understand the lawyer immigration process starts actually after you found the job and after you have a company that says, you know what, we are going forward with you. We want to hire you and we would like to sponsor you, right? So this is critical that you have to understand this because look, no matter what you do, an immigration lawyer will give you at the very, very beginning generic information. He will tell you, look, what visa categories are possible and what other companies might be able to do for you, etc. But keep in mind, even so in this first phase, if you have the money and you want to pay it, okay. But I always have to say, what else is he doing and what did they do in my case, besides giving you a framework and basically telling you what options there are out there. And I mean, if you're interested, hopefully you can read that data. You can go and make your homework and pull up the websites from the US government and see what visa categories are out there. You can also go to my homepage and check it all out because I listed all the categories, that basically might apply to you. So all I'm saying is, I remember I burned a lot of money up front at the beginning and I was wondering what the hell? I'm getting just regular information. Some of that I already knew. And quite frankly, all this process, what the company needs to do in order to file my visa, to get me a working authorization, I didn't even care. And it was also not mandatory or important at that point. So for me, I realized quickly and wait a minute, what am I going to pay you for, right? Why am I even going to a lawyer up front? And how can he really, really help me? So you have to understand what I learned through this process is actually also the following. Once I got job offers and once I was connecting to companies and they have been very interested in me, it was a critical part, of course, in the negotiation what you can say or what you should say that the company says, oh, sure, we are going for a sponsorship, right? But if you haven't seen my other videos, I would say go to my website, gousa.site, again, gousa.site, and check out all my other videos in which I also discuss, the strategy you need to apply in an interview so that basically your chances are, skyrocketing. So, but anyways, the important part is coming back to the lawyer or to an immigration attorney is, I would say at the very beginning, it's not really mandatory or necessary that you have a lawyer. Number two, once you have a company and you're connected with them, if that's a legitimate good company and they're also familiar with sponsorships, they usually work with a lawyer together. Either somebody who is already in-house, if it's a huge company, they have lawyers in-house, or they work with the human resource department together. And if it's a smaller company, they say, okay, let's go for an external immigration lawyer. Let's give him all this stuff, the paperwork, and he will take care for it. So this is in theory and also in the practical all day, like in my experience when I went to all those companies, how it actually rolls, okay? So if the company is providing you an immigration lawyer, fine, then because they are going to pay for him, right? But be careful, because even if that company is paying for an immigration lawyer, that does not mean that this immigration lawyer knows what the heck he is doing. And that happened to me. So I can tell you, when I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, that was my first location with my family. I invested roughly about like $250,000 in cash because I bought a house and yada, 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 and all the relocation costs and moving with the children, the tickets and so on and so forth. So it was a lot of money in cash. I came up and I paid, upfront, all out of my pocket. But when I was at this company, I realized very soon, even when I had my first steps done and I had already my first visa, I was immediately thinking about, okay, but how does it continue? How can I stay long term in the United States? And so I started having conversations with this lawyer, and she basically said to me, well, Bernhard, I'm very sorry, but you don't have the education. You don't have the proper education to file for the next category of a bigger visa. And I said, excuse me? And she said, yes, basically all I can tell you, you disqualify, and all I can offer you is you can get a student visa and you can go back to college, or you start becoming a student. And I started to laugh and I said, what the hell? I mean, I am for sure not going back to school because you tell me so. And I start, at college. I mean, I need money. I came here as a profession and I love what I do. So what the hell you're telling me? It's completely, crazy. It's not what I'm going to do. And so we started like immediately, there was tension. And then quickly also I realized, wait a minute, she's not going to do what I'm telling her to do, because that lawyer was paid from the company. Even so, if her job was like to make sure that I get a sponsorship, I felt like I'm not in good hands, and I was absolutely spot on and absolutely right, because she didn't care. And she didn't make even proper research. And what happened was, absolutely to this point where my first visa was running out, she constantly insisted, and she said, like, I don't have the proper education because I need to have, for the H-1B visa, at least a college degree. And no matter what I said, she ignored it. And I felt like, you know what, that's too much, and I can't risk it. I knew that she will not going any further. She will not do her proper job. So I said, wait a minute. I just moved to the United States. I invested over $250,000 in cash. I moved my whole family. We bought a house. We settled down. I love to work at this company. I would like to stay there. But, she told me even a month before my visa was running out, this is not possible. what I'm trying to get. I cannot get another visa and I cannot stay in the United States. I have to pack my shit and leave, and I have to sell my house, or I go back to college as a student. So I knew already 3-4 months before, like, I have to do something and I have to take care for myself and my family. And that's where I hired another lawyer. So I was reaching out, in which I paid the money and I hired them and I told them what I need and what they have to do. And as it turns out, and this is this crazy part, that I was going to 3 other lawyers. I found one who was really, really good. And trust me, it makes a big difference. It makes a huge difference. First of all, if you hire a lawyer by yourself, or if a company hires a lawyer, if you pay him and you have the money and the authority to tell him what he needs to do for you, or the opposite way, right? And trust me, that's very important, because when I paid the money, I was the client. And when people get to know me, they understand, like, holy shit, Bernhard is not shutting up. I will not just go to a lawyer and beg him and say, like, sure, yes and amen, and do everything what you say. No, you get paid in order to do the best job ever. And you are getting paid to do what I'm telling you to do. It is what it is. Of course, I need to listen to the lawyer. Of course, I will take his recommendations and the knowledge. And of course, I am not an immigration lawyer and I don't know shit in terms of the legal ways. But on the flip side, I'm also not stupid, and I do understand basic rules, and I can read online what is going on and what options and possibilities are out there. So long story short, what happened, you will not believe this. First of all, again, you need to understand that company's lawyer, the attorney, the immigration lawyer, told me after being there over a year, I need to pack my shit. There is nothing they can do. I cannot stay long-term in the United States. I would not qualify for the next visa category, which was an H-1B. The only option she saw was I either move back to the United States, back to Austria, and leave the US, or I become a student, right? And I couldn't even work full-time, yada, yada, yada. So after all this, and after hiring my lawyer, and I paid the money for, I got the notification that everything is actually fine, and I found also another company, and they have been willing to sponsor me and go through this process, filing the next visa category. So I did this while I was employed, and I basically started all over and looked for other opportunities and companies, because I knew, like, if they are not going to file that, I'm screwed and it's a dead end. So I had to take care for myself, for my children, for my wife, and everything else. So, and what happened was actually fairly simple. The lawyer understood his business. He made his homework. He told me, look, it's absolutely crystal clear that you qualify. There are other options and ways, but we can get this done. I said, wonderful. So after I hired him 3 months later, I had actually my next visa. I had it. I got it. And the crazy stuff was, when I had my new visa in my pocket from the other lawyer I hired, right, then I had another meeting with the company's lawyer who was still employed. And at that meeting, I had already my visa, my next visa in my pocket. And then I said, so we have another meeting. Can you please tell me what we can do? I didn't inform them. I didn't let them know that I already have my next ticket, right? And so I said, can you please tell me again that I disqualify? And in the meeting, she said, yes, I'm very sorry, Bernhard, but like, you don't have the proper qualifications, you don't have the education. And unfortunately, this is by law, it is impossible. It is not possible that we can file for you for this visa. So I said, I want to repeat in the meeting that everybody hears that you are saying that it's impossible and so on. And she said, yes, yes, yes. And I said, you know, I always knew, and I say that before, that you are wrong. And she got kind of like very irritated. And of course she got pissed because me as a I would say, like, as a person who is not, who I didn't go to college even. I didn't study anything about like immigration. So what should I know? So I said, look, I mean, I understand this, that, you know, what you told me, I listened, but I disagree, and I know you're absolutely wrong since I'm telling you since 6 months. And she insisted she is right. I said, you're wrong. And no matter what I said at the very end, look, can I show you something? And she said, sure. And then I pulled out of my pocket, so to speak, a letter. And that letter was nothing else than the confirmation of my visa. And I said, so gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, here it is. And I show you that I already have it. I already have it, even when you constantly said it is impossible to even get it. So you can imagine, she was like completely pissed. She left the room. I said to everybody, well, gentlemen, anybody else has any questions, right? And I mean, what I didn't quite understand until today is that she, of course, got extremely pissed about me because I proved it that she was wrong. And I basically also showed that she didn't care. She didn't make her job. She didn't make her homework. And because of that she wasn't even good at her job, I would have lost everything. And I basically, if I would have just trusted her and I would have said, sure, whatever you say, I have to pack my shit, I have to go back and I have to go to college, then my future would have been going downhill, right? And of course, the financial disaster, the financial damage I would have, to deal with was also incredible. And keeping in mind, I had 3 little kids, I was married, and I had to take care of everything. So in my opinion, and for this example, you can see how crazy it is and how important it is that you have actually a good lawyer and a proper lawyer when you need them. But again, this was already also what I wanted to call out, a process in which I was already in the second phase. I had already a job, I got already sponsorship, but of course in my first visa, my visa was running out after like 16 months, and I needed, or was it 18 months I guess, but I needed to take care to basically jump to the next visa category. And so then it was important to hire a lawyer for myself, and making sure that this person really understands what's going on and he's working for me and he's guiding me into the right direction. So maybe last but not least, what I wanted to mention about costs and how lawyers usually work. Trust me, a lawyer only works if you pay him up front. It's called in the United States a so-called retainer. What I also learned is a lawyer works together usually with somebody who makes all the documents. There is a specific name, I will look this up. But whatever you do, when you go to a lawyer and you hire them, he basically says, you know what, there is a retainer you have to pay. If it's 5K, if it's 8K or whatever. But that basically means it's a deposit. You have to write a check and he gets the money. And once he gets this money, then he starts working. And basically, if this is like 5K, a lump sum like this, right? And then he starts working every hour, I don't know, they're charging you per hour $200 to $300 an hour. Then the money goes away and goes away and goes away. Keep in mind, lawyers, immigration lawyers, good ones, they are really expensive because they are charging you $200, $300 an hour. So they make a phone call, you talk an hour on the phone, it doesn't matter what you talk about, right? They will charge you. And so the people who work for them and make all the documents, that's what I wanted to let you know, they are called paralegals. And even so, I always recommend, if you have any documents, you can do this by yourself. You can upfront say you don't want to pay any paralegals. You can provide all the documents in a digital way and you can upload PDFs and send all the necessary paperwork or forms. and stuff you need to provide. So that will save you a lot of money, because the paralegals are basically attached to a lawyer, but they are all the people who do the documentation, and they are also quite expensive. There is a lot of paperwork that needs to be done, and then it piles up, and at the end, just the paralegal, they charge you $2 or $3 grand on top of it, right? But usually it comes all out from the retainer, and then it goes really, really quick. I mean, burning like 10K with a good immigration lawyer goes like poof, okay? So that's my experience. So that means, as you can see, thinking about an immigration lawyer, yes, at the beginning, I think the first phase, if you want to move and emigrate to the United States, the first thing is really figuring out how to get a job, what specific strategy are you going to use, how do you execute that strategy, how to write a resume, how to connect, and how to boost yourself in the selection in a way where you get really, really, really hot for the employer. And that in the next phase, in the negotiation and having phone interviews or even personal interviews, of course, like how do you talk, how do you negotiate, and what do you have to say, especially also when it comes to your sponsorship. That's all on other videos I'm explaining on my website. So again, this was the story about immigration lawyer, yes or no, how they usually proceed with money. What's the difference between if you're getting an immigration lawyer provided from a company versus you hire yourself and a lawyer, and what he can do for you. But I think it's very, very important that you understand this, and especially if you need a lawyer at the beginning upfront, as you can see, my recommendation, I didn't really feel a need for it, and also the lawyer, keep that in mind, will not find you a job. He is not going to find you, a job and a company that is willing to sponsor you. So I would say you have to follow that procedure step by step, how to do this process, how you can get a job, how to apply and connect, and what's the best effective strategy to do that and to boost your chances to get actually on the top of all the paperwork. That's what I'm going to talk in all my other videos, and you can of course find more information on my website. That is gousa.site, gousa.site. And last but not least, I have to say, of course, please subscribe to my YouTube channel on the little bell below. I'm going to, publish more and more videos, and I'm pretty damn sure that all the videos I'm going to talk about, they will help you to move quicker, faster, cheaper, and more efficient to the US. So that being said, I wish you already good luck, all the best, and hopefully see you soon here in the United States of America. Until then, all the best and take care. Talk to you later, and hopefully see you later. Bye-bye.